The Ricardo Leong Center for Chinese Studies really started with a book called Heroic Leadership. Chris Lowney in that book talked about the Jesuits in China, how Matteo Ricci and his companions were able to introduce Western culture to China through a spirit of innovation and openness. Dr. Rosita Leong read that book and was very inspired. Her husband is Ricardo Leong, who is an Ateneo alumnus. So then they had the idea of setting up some kind of center in the Philippines where we can train young Filipinos, especially Ateneans, to understand China. That is how the idea of establishing a center came about. For the longest time, we have a public event, the Spring Film Festival, which is a way to promote Chinese culture and language by way of a popular medium, and that's films. It's a soft way of learning about a country's language and culture. And to keep that going for 10 years, I think is really quite an accomplishment. We need to understand China in a better way and in a deeper way. And that's why it's important to do it in the academe. There's support for conferences, for research, for scholarships, and that's what the Leong Center is trying to do on different levels.
At the time, I think Celadon was a bit of a crossroads. So it was always known as the Phil Chai org. It was sort of trying to grow out of that. And remember, around 1997, these were times when kidnapping was an issue, the big Phil Chai issue of that decade. But still people are saying, trying to fit in. We don't really think there's a gap. We think it's really shrinking to the point that you don't notice it anymore. People still made the joke, yeah, your parents will force you to join this org so you can find a way. It was a smaller org, meaning it just didn't have the number of activities that you have now. You have much more people, much more projects right now.
If you were to describe Celadon in one word, what would it be?
Home.
A home. A home within a home within a home.
Everyone here is so nice. Like, all of you guys, you just want to see each other win. It's a real team effort. It's beautiful. Here in Celadon, it feels like everything is so personal to the people that are running the projects.
Celadon gave me the stepping stone to become a bigger person, to become more kind to people, to become more open. Same time, it trained me to become more of a leader. I learned to become more sociable and more accepting of the different people that we meet. Because every year we meet new members, we meet new people.
For the past 5 years, I've saw members, their reason gets deeper and deeper. When I was a fresh, I joined because I had friends from the upper brackets. But now, I think you kind of see a deeper reason now. Parang, because I saw this project last year. I really wanted to learn about Chinese-Filipino culture. Ganun.
I wish that Celadon just continues to grow, man. We're a big community, and I just want all of us to keep growing, to keep falling in love with what we do, and more people get to see the beauty that comes with being a Celadonian.
Yeah, what I really just wish for the org is that the values that make up the core part of our identity always stays there. That no matter what we do, how much we scale, how much we grow, we still remember how important it is that values that are central to the org, people-oriented values that don't emphasize over the years. They don't get tossed to the side.
I think it's very important. Like I spent a lot of my time outside the classroom with Celadon, right? And I think that's still true for all of you. It's definitely a key part of the Ateneo experience for all of us. Right now, social media is at a point where something that happens with, say, Ateneo or UP gets reported nationally, especially now where, say, political statements, all the orgs, not just Celadon, get together. So you can do a lot of things.
I hope that Celadon gets to reach more people because I think that there are a lot of people out there who want to experience Chinese Filipino culture. I hope that Celadon gets to share how we celebrate the culture with them.
Astig.ph.
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 To astig.ph.
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 Visit astig.ph.
Got something you want to share to the world? We got you, fam! We are looking for awesome people like you who want to share content that deserve a spotlight on our site. Whether it's a list of everything you love about catos and doggos, pop culture related artworks, or even your own random photos, memes, and funny videos, we'd be happy to see it and share it to the world. Join our award-winning team and be part of our Ink Pop creator community.
Hey, it's me, Guyito. Want to become a writer, artist, or photographer when you grow up? Test your creative skills with us. We're looking for kids aged 7 to 12 years old with unpublished work like articles, short stories, poems, essays, artworks, videos, and others. Join our award-winning team and be a part of our Kinderpop contributors and get your awesome work published for the entire world to see. Send in your work to pop@inquirer.net or visit facebook.com/inkpop to know more. Now let's show them how kids get it done.
Good. All right. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kyle Andaya, your sophomore host from BS Management Honors, and I will be your host this afternoon. Welcome to Our Culture, Our Story, Our Spring Festival. How is everyone doing? I hope that you guys have eaten already. It is 2 p.m., so I hope that you've had your lunch and breakfast at least. I'd also like to give a shout out to all of our listeners here today. If you're here, that means you're here for the opening. So thank you so much. Hope you stay for the entire talk. I'd also like to shout out some listeners such as Kamis Atia Higazi, who's listening all the way from Egypt. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd also like to shout out some of my friends who are listening, especially Katrina Tan. Thank you for always being so supportive. And thank you everyone else for making this wonderful, great effort to attend the first of our three-part talk series entitled Hair and Order, Male Hairstyles in Chinese Antiquity. I hope everyone is excited to familiarize themselves and learn more about the Chinese culture because I sure am. Many of us are eager to hear what these professionals have to say about topics on the Chinese style male hairstyles or foot binding, and of course, the Chinese landscape painting. But before that, let's show our appreciation first to our sponsors that have made this event possible. Thank you to all our event sponsors this year, which include the Ateneo de Manila University, the Ateneo Celadon, the Ateneo Ricardo Leong Center for Chinese Studies, the Chinatown Museum, Asian Dragon Magazine, Rich Prime Global Incorporated, Flexo Manufacturing Corporation, Barefoot, and the Blue Hanguk Society. This event would also not be possible without our online media partners, Chinoy TV, Astig PH, Spark Up, and The Inquirer. We would also like to thank the Loyola School's campus events management team and Chinatown Museum for making this simultaneous live streaming possible on Facebook and YouTube. We also want to give a special shout out to the Ateneo Ricardo Leong Center for Chinese Studies for providing scholarships for numerous applicants and making the event possible. Thank you once again to our sponsors. Now, before I proceed to our main event this afternoon, we would like to give a brief background on the topic of male hairstyles in ancient China. The discussion of men's hairstyles in Chinese history is often overshadowed by the more ornate and more frequently changing women's hairstyles. However, ancient Chinese men's hairstyles are significant in relation to concepts such as filial piety, societal order, and spirituality. While we are talking about men's hairstyles under a giant umbrella, there are actually numerous hairstyles back then. Take, for instance, Jet Li in the popular film Once Upon a Time in China. He had a hairstyle that included a bald front with long braided hair at the back. Other hairstyles include tying the hair into a bun on the top of the head. And, we are just tackling the tip of the iceberg of this 1,000-year history of ancient China. I am sure that the audience's interest has been piqued because of this short introduction. Here to present today's talk entitled Hair and Order, Male Hairstyles in Chinese Antiquity, we have a very special guest here with us today. Mr. Gilbert Jacob Ke is an instructor of the Ateneo's Department of Communication. He specializes in Asian studies and has taught classes such as Asian history, media in the diaspora, mass media in China, and other classes related to media, culture, and society. He is a proud Chinoy and is always happy to introduce everyone to his Chinese heritage and make them appreciate it. Without further ado, let us welcome Mr. Gilbert Ke. Hello.
Hello. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making time for my talk this afternoon. 大家好, and I hope that we will learn a lot in my talk this afternoon about hair and order. So this afternoon, we are going to talk about hair, obviously. But what is so important about hair and why are people bothered, to fix their hair, to change their hair? So before I go to the details, of the history of male hairstyles in China, I would like to give you some questions to think about. And please do type your answers in the comment section. So my first question to all of you is, one, do you like your hairstyle? And why do you keep it that way? Second is, what does your hairstyle say about you? Is it your religion? Is it your culture, ethnicity, whatever. So what does your hairstyle say about you? And finally, do you judge other people, like strangers, by their hairstyle? So please, again, place your answers in the comment section. We would like to know what you think. Now, as far as Chinese history is concerned, there are a lot of hairstyles that ancient China has seen. So, for example, in the Xia and Shang dynasties, which was many thousand years ago, around 2000 BCE to around 1000 BCE, they had more hairstyles, and these hairstyles aren't the hairstyles that most people associate with Chinese culture. So for like these two early dynasties, it was said that male royalty and upperclassmen would braid their hair, or at the very least wrap their hair on their heads. So when they do that, their heads would look like they have like an inverted cone or like a pyramid on top of their head. So again, this is a hairstyle that is not very much seen in Chinese films or Chinese series, because there are not a lot of shows or movies that feature these really early dynasties. But people sort of knew what ancient Chinese people looked like because of the artifacts that they found. So if male royalty or the upperclassmen in these early dynasties would wrap their hair on their heads, the commoners or the lower class people, sometimes even the prisoners, would usually cut their hair short, and they would resemble like a very, very short bowl cut. So I would like to show you this statue from the Shang dynasty. The Xia dynasty, by the way, is a semi-legendary dynasty, while the Shang dynasty is the first recorded dynasty in history. So this statue again was from the Shang dynasty. And if you notice, the hair of this male statue is like the very short bowl cut that I said a while ago. However, even though you have a very short bowl cut, it doesn't mean that you cannot style your hair in certain ways. So just like the illustration at the right, if you look at the front, it looks like a standard short bowl cut. But if you look at the back, this, if this person ever existed, this person decided to style his hair with a very short braid at the back. So at least you can have some limited freedom or liberty to style your hair. However, the general sense is that, if you are not royalty, you should cut your hair more or less in this manner. However, for higher class people, for the royalty, as you can see that instead of the very short bowl cut, they have this like pointed cone or pyramid on their head, because they would normally grow their hair long and they would wrap it around their head. So here you can find like ancient artifacts again from the Shang dynasty. And again, these are, I think, very unique because this is not commonly featured in Chinese popular media. However, in the next many dynasties, there was no significant change, and the hairstyle that was evident during this very long intermediary era of expansionist and medieval China, the hairstyles during this era were the hairstyles that most people today would associate with China, which is the man bun or the top knot. So these dynasties would be from the Zhou dynasty up until the very, very late Ming dynasty. So this is a very long 500 BCE until 1600s CE. So the hairstyles of men during this time would change depending on your age. So if you are young, if you're a baby or if you're a toddler, your hairstyle can be whatever your parents think suits you best, because they believe that the hair is a gift from our ancestors, and you should take care of your hair based on how your ancestors want it to be. At least that is one of the perspectives during that time. So children, they still probably do not know how to style their hair. So parents would style it for their children. However, if you turn in your teens, like 18 to 20 years old, you will need to go through a coming of age ceremony, which is like, the debut ceremony. There is one for men and there is one for women. For the men, if you go through this ceremony called Quan Li, you need to grow your hair long and you need to have it in a top bun or top knot. And this way, you will look very respectable, and you will look very respectable. And this is one way for them to show honor to their family, diba? Because again, the hair is the gift from your family, from your ancestors. So for them to not have, very, very messy hair, apart from the top bun, they would usually cover it with various types of cloth, various hats, and various headdresses, depending on their rank or their occupation. So again, who said that their hair should be in a top knot? Well, in this very long era of medieval China, or at least the majority of the time, the Chinese would follow Confucianism. And Confucianism, of course, was developed by a person named Confucius or Kongzi. And apart from the many, many teachings on filial piety, on societal order, one of the things that he mentioned was related to our body parts, including hair. And this is what he said: 身体发肤受之父母，不敢回伤，孝之始也. Which means my body, my hair are bestowed by my parents, and therefore I dare not injure them, as it is the least I can do to honor them. So again, according to Confucius, actually it's not just Confucius, but many, I think many cultures in the world, many religions in the world have an almost similar concept of not cutting the hair because it is either a gift or a blessing from ancestors or the divine. So Confucius almost had this kind of way of thinking as well. So it's actually not just the hair, but for example, your skin should, it's also a body part that came from your ancestors, because, it is part of your, genetics. You are not supposed to mutilate parts, or you're not supposed to, for example, alter your appearance. For example, tattoos are a big no-no. And at that time, if you cut your hair, or if you have a tattoo, you will be seen badly by the society, or people would think that you are a prisoner, or you probably committed a crime, because cutting the hair or having tattoos were part of the punishment, if you committed a crime. So again, this photo shows you the different hairstyles of men, depending on your age. So here, the very first photo, you see a 3-year-old kid who's probably just starting to grow his hair long. So by the time you reach, 9 years old, you probably have a good amount of hair on your head. And children, again, they don't know how to style their hair yet. So their parents would decide how their children should look. And if the child keeps that hairdo or that hairstyle, it is their way of honoring their parents, because their parents dictated what hairstyle they should have. By your mid-teens, some sources would say 15 years old, some sources would say 18 years old. But again, once you go through that Quan Li ceremony, you need to have your hair up with in a top knot or top bun, and you need to cover it with some kind of cloth or headdress to make it neater, diba? To make your appearance neater. And of course, by, let's say, 20 years old, maybe this time you have a more stable job, or maybe if you go to the government, then you would be given a more appropriate headdress to not only keep your hair orderly, but also to dictate your rank in society. Okay. Now, regarding Chinese hairstyles, I commonly get this question, and my mom even actually asked me this question as well when I told her that I was gonna have this talk for this afternoon. So, for those of you who like to watch Chinese series, you would often see men, in period drama or period series, you would see some men who have like half their hair in a top knot or top bun, and the rest of the hair would be, free flowing. Well, if you look at different statues or different paintings, this is actually not very evident. Or if you see some painting or statue of this kind of hairdo, chances are this is a more contemporary imagination of what people back then would look like. But since at that time the rule was to place all your hair in a top knot or top bun, what you see in series where the half of the hair is in a bun and the half is free flowing, just like what you see in the left, that is actually a big no-no as well. Because again, for the Chinese back then, if you have your hair free flowing, that is actually not a sign of neatness, or that is not a sign of being a proper male citizen. So this was actually unheard of. And this is, if you see this in Chinese series or Chinese movies, this is just, a modern, bending of the rules, just probably for you to not mistake one character for the other. I guess that's something regarding aesthetics plays a factor in hairstyling. Okay, so as I said, if you look at statues, none of them would be having this kind of, free flowing hair, especially if you're a warrior, because I think it's not very practical for you to be fighting and your hair is free flowing, because your long hair can be used against you, diba? So it's best to keep your hair very neat in a top bun. In these photos, you will see the terracotta warriors from the Qin dynasty, which is the first expansionist dynasty of China. The terracotta warriors can be found in Xi'an, and this is located in a very, very massive tomb. And all the statues here are said to be not identical to each other. So all of them are very unique. And one thing is common about these soldiers, and this is, of course, the top knot or the top bun. But as I said, even though your hair is in the top bun, it doesn't mean that you cannot have that little freedom to style your hair the way you want it to be. So if you look at the backside of these terracotta warriors, some of them have braids that they styled or knotted or wrapped in various ways, or they twisted their hair here and there. But the most important thing is the general appearance should still be a top knot or a top bun. Later on, here you can see a Tang Dynasty painting by Yan Lipen, and it's entitled An Audience with Taizong being one of the emperors of the Tang Dynasty. And here you can see that all of them have their top bun, but they are covered in headdresses depending on their rank. So here, I have a very for those who know me, they would know that I have a very big collection of costumes, accessories, and headdresses. So here I have one headdress from ancient China. This is actually from the Ming Dynasty, but don't worry, this is not an actual artifact. This is just something I grabbed from the souvenir store. So it's a replica, so don't worry. This is what they call the 展翅浮头, or sometimes it is that means, by the way, like a spread wing headdress, because these two panels at the side, I'm not sure if you can see clearly, the two panels at the side of the hat look like bird's wings. Sometimes this is also called the wu sha mao, which is called the black cloth hat, because it is made of black cloth. Now, early Chinese headdresses or hats would look like this. The front part is rather flat, while there is a tall, back portion here. And the reason why they need this tall portion at the back is for them to be able to wear it over their top knot. So the top knot would actually go inside this tall, like elevated area at the back. So here, this type of headdress is not only found in China, but it is also found in other tributary states of China that are culturally related to China. For example, Joseon, Korea, and Ryukyu, Japan as well. So they would have some kind of hairdress like this, and the people would normally have top buns as well that they would put, inside this portion. Okay. So, apart from the top knot, early Chinese history also found foreign influences entering China. This is mainly through the Silk Road. So, one of the foreign religions or philosophies that entered China was Buddhism. Now, Buddhism slowly arrived from India during the Han Dynasty through the Silk Road. And the Silk Road, of course, we know is a network of roads that is that connected Europe all the way to Asia. So not only did they use the Silk Road to do trade, to do business, but other important things that were exchanged in the Silk Road would be philosophy, religions, cultures, languages. So when Buddhism entered China, and a lot of people would convert to Buddhism eventually, for example, in the Sui and the Tang Dynasty, many Chinese would already convert to Buddhism. But if you are like a lay person, then you don't really need to change your hair. You can still keep it in that top bun or top knot. But if you are a Buddhist monk, you need to shave your head as an indication of your affiliation to this religion. And this is because for Buddhists, the hair is one symbol of earthly possessions or earthly ties. And in Buddhist teachings, if you're a very strict Buddhist, if you're a Buddhist monk, you know that you need to separate yourself from earthly ties or material possessions. And one way for them to show that was to ceremonially, shave their whole head once they enter monkhood. So here you can see a photo of the monk Xuanzang, one of the most famous Buddhist monks in China. This painting was found in, I think, one of the most interesting caves in China. It's called the Mogao Caves in Dunhuang, and it is located in Gansu province. So this is actually part of my bucket list. So I hope COVID goes away so I can travel again. All of us can travel again. And I hope that you can go to the Mogao Caves soon, if you have the chance. Now, going back to the picture of Xuanzang, as you will notice, he does not have his top knot or top bun. Instead, he has a very clean-shaven head. Maybe you can see bits and pieces of hair there, but it's not, long and in a top bun. Now, finally, in the last dynasty of China, the Qing dynasty, by the way, is one of the two foreign dynasties of China. The first being the Yuan dynasty, which was ruled by the Mongolians. However, the Mongolians were a little bit lenient. They would allow people to still keep their top buns, while the Mongol people would have their own hairstyle. But for the Qing dynasty, they were Manchurians, and they had their own distinct hairstyle, which I think many people would know. Kyle a while ago mentioned Jet Li's hair, so that was the hair that was apparent during that time. And this is what we call the Q hairstyle, which was met with plenty of resistance because it involved shaving part of your head. And again, for majority of China that followed Confucianism, cutting off one's hair is for them, not allowed, or at least it is not the proper thing to do. However, for the Manchurians, since they were the ruling class that time, they forced the Chinese people to shave their head, and this is again another hairstyle that I think people would associate with Chinese society, especially for those who like the kung fu films, diba, or the period films. So the Q hairstyle would have this half shaven head in the front, but the back part is braided. However, the only people exempted from having the Q hairstyle is for the Buddhist monks, again for religious reasons. So In this photo, you can see, let's look at the right photo first, the illustration. You see three distinct styles of the Q hairstyle, and this is because the Q hairstyle evolved through through the Qing dynasty. So in the early Qing dynasty, the Q hairstyle would resemble the authentic or the early Manchurian style Q hairstyle, where the head is almost completely bald except for two braids at the back. So, and they are vertically aligned. And then in the middle part of the Qing dynasty, you would have still an almost completely shaven head, but you have more hair at the back, and there is only one braid. And finally, in the latter part of the Qing dynasty, the Q hairstyle would resemble what most what most people would know about the Q hairstyle, which is the front is shaved, but the back is free flowing hair with plenty of volume. So you are allowed to have more hair. So when you braid it, it looks thicker, and again, it has more volume, which you can see in the left photo. Now, of course, depending on your rank in society, depending on your occupation, you would also be given or be allowed to wear or made to wear headdresses or hats, depending on what rank you are in society. So, of course, I have here for show and tell again. First, we have this like rounded cap, and I think many people see this in souvenir stores, especially during Chinese New Year or the Spring Festival. So this is actually a Manchurian style hat. And if you notice, this does not have the elevated area that I showed a while ago in the black cloth hat. So here you have a flat hat because the top buns are not allowed anymore during this time. So however, if you buy this kind of hat today, normally you will see at the back portion there is an attached braid, so it's a fake braid. Of course, the people who made these hats as souvenirs understand that people today do not have the Q hairstyle anymore. But for you to have the chance to rock that faux Q hairstyle, they attach this fake braid at the back of the hat for your convenience. So apart from this kind of hat, you will see another type of hat, usually for officials. So a while ago, normally you would see that in like the rounded hat is normally seen in special occasions. Sometimes the royalty would also wear them, like for little children. You would also see this in the little children on the Hong Pao or the Ang Pao. So sometimes there are two children there, one boy and one girl. The boy would usually wear a hat like this. However, if you are in some kind of political or government position, you will be wearing this kind of Quan Mao. So this looks sort of like the rounded hat because it has a rounded, the structure of the hat is generally round, but the brim is a little bit different. It's folded outward. And depending on your rank, again, the top button thing, the top ornament will be of a different stone or a different color, depending on your rank. And the embroidery or the design of the hat will also differ depending on who you are in society. For your convenience, again, I bought this also from a souvenir store in China. So if you get a hat like this, they also have placed the fake yarn braid at the back of the hat for your convenience, so you can rock your own temporary Q hairstyle. Now, since you need to always keep your head half shaven if you're a male during that time, barber shops had a boom in business that time. To make sure that your head is perfectly queued and perfectly half shaven. So here you can see again a local barber shop from one small village during the Qing dynasty. Now, the Q hairstyle found its end in the 1900s, early 1900s, early 20th century, when the Manchurian Empire or the Manchurian dynasty ended. But apart from that, people followed what Emperor Puyi did as well, because Emperor Puyi, who was Manchurian, he, for most of his life, he had the Q hairstyle as well. But at that time, as we know, China had more contacts with the Westerners. So Emperor Puyi, for example, was even taught by a Western teacher or Western tutor. And because of these influences from the outside, Emperor Puyi decided in the 1920s to cut off his Q hairstyle, and at that time on, from that time on, rather, he became more um, comfortable with a Western appearance. So he would wear more Western clothes. And I guess, for the rest of China, they also followed, many people would cut off their queue, although many people would still keep their queue. Um, I think, the first people who would cut off their queue were the Ming loyalists, diba? So these were the Chinese people who were really against the Manchurians. They would be the first people to cut off their queue, and they would just go in favor of a more Western hairstyle rather than keeping their queue. So Emperor Puyi again cut off his queue in the 1920s, and from then on, as China entered modernity, and as China entered the contemporary times, like today, as you can see, Chinese men and women have more liberty in styling their hair, in expressing themselves. So, in the end, what is it about hair? Why are we talking about hair this afternoon? Apart from the fact that, okay, there were many different hairstyles in China and they were cool, or if you don't think they're cool, I still think they're cool. So, hairstyles are symbols of cultural identity, status, and order, apart from aesthetics. Although discussing hair in ancient China was also an interdisciplinary discussion of aesthetics, so beauty and the arts, as well as politics, diba? And even philosophy, if you will. So the photo at the side would show you the summary of the evolution of Chinese hairstyles. It's not as varied again as women's hairstyles, but it is interesting to know that whatever hairstyle the Chinese had throughout history was because of their beliefs and their identity. And finally, I would like to leave a question to all of you for you to think about from today until maybe the rest of your lives. How does the way you present yourself, not just hairstyles, because when you present yourself, it includes your makeup if you wear makeup. It includes the way you style whatever part of your body. It also includes the way you dress, your accessories, and so on. So how does the way you present yourself represent your beliefs and outlook in life? And how do people around you respond to that? Thank you so much. 谢谢大家.
All right. Wow. Well, thank you so much for that interesting presentation, Mr. Ke.
Thank you. Thank you.
I apologize. Been sorry. Had a little bit of what do you call it?
Kala ko dinugo yung ilong mo from Kala ko dumugo yung nosebleed from the presentation. But yeah, I hope you still enjoyed.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
Great.
It's just nosebleed season for me. But thank you so much for that interesting presentation, Mr. K. Oh, wow. It is very strong. Out of nowhere. It was not doing that earlier. Okay.
I'm sorry. It was probably the information overload.
No, it's fine.
I hope you're fine. I hope you're fine.
No, perfectly fine. Audience, don't worry for me. What do you call it? I didn't expect this to happen, but the show must go on. So I hope I can get a Chinese hairstyle too, though, just to mention, because some of the designs there look incredible, actually.
You need to grow your hair long.
Oh, true, actually. It's quite short. Okay. Well, it was truly fascinating to see the evolution of Chinese hairstyles throughout the years. I can only imagine, like what you mentioned during the, what do you call it, talking about your friends now, that life would look like a modern 24/7 teleserie if the Chinese were to still adopt that hairstyle until today, no?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But I honestly enjoyed it. Like the visuals, yeah, your involvement with the whole thing, even the fact that you had props. Once again, I
Yeah.
apologize for the medical emergency, not the emergency, but what's going on right now. Uh, but thank you so much for that. And let us now open the floor for the question and answer portion. Please feel free to drop your question in the comment section below. While waiting for the questions to come in, I have a question for you, Mr. Gilbert. How did the
Sure.
China maintain their hair? Did they have their own version of shampoo and conditioner? How did that work out?
Well, there are a lot of ways that they didn't really have the luxury of hair care products that we have today, but it depends again. So, for example, some men would place certain oils on their hair, or oils or fragrances. Some might even place some kind of powder, especially if you are like more lower class or if you're a commoner. If you don't have ready access to like clean water, which again, clean water access has been a problem in history in all places of the world. So it's not just China, but the rest of the world had, problems. What do you call this? They had problems accessing clean, fresh, and clean water. So if they didn't have that luxury, then they might place certain what do you call this? Certain powders to dust off the oil and the other things that they do not want on their hair. Actually, today you can also do that. You can, like, if you cannot wash your hair, you can also put powder on your hair to remove like excess oil from your hair. And it's not just people who would do that, but animals would do that as well. For example, peacocks, one of my favorite animals in the world, they would clean their, you know how peacocks look like, but they have really long tails and whatever, especially for the male peacocks. What they would do is they would dust off, like they would have a dust bath, and then they would just shake off the dust and then they're clean again, something like that. So people would, in the ancient days, would also have that kind of thing with their hair. So again, it's not just in China, but other civilizations in the world have that version as well. But of course, if you are someone who has more money to spare, like if you're, royalty, maybe you would invest in certain herbs, certain oils, certain types of baths to, make your hair nicer and cleaner. But the general thing is you just keep it in your you just keep your hair in a top knot and then you cover it with something to prevent more dust from making your hair messy or dusty.
Okay.
Are
Thank you
you
so much for
okay?
that. Yes. Audience, I'll just go off camera for a while, but you can still hear my voice. Thankfully, people tell me that my voice is very podcastable. So well, I hope that
It is. It is.
I hope that I'm still easy to listen to. So the next question we have here from the comments is Erin asking, why did they choose hair and hats to represent their status instead of maybe something else?
Um, One, it is because it's the first thing that people see, diba? It's not just actually it's not just hair, but even clothes. So it's not just me keeping my hair in a top bun and I go out nude, diba? It's not like that. It is the whole package. Of course, right now the focus is only on hair, but if we have more time and to do research on this and more time to discuss, it is not just the hair and the hat, but it's how the hair and the hat fit together with the attire, with the shoes, sometimes with the weapon that you bring if you're in that kind of occupation, diba? So hair, as you will know, is on the head. It is one of the very first things that people see, especially if you're very far away, especially if you're a warrior or a soldier. So I'll show you the hat again, the warrior hat, a soldier hat from um, no, sorry, this is a government official's hat from the Qing dynasty or the Manchurian hat. So as you can see, diba, you have these little spheres on top. So if you're a soldier, the hat would actually look bigger and more elevated, and the ornament on your hat will be a lot more elaborate with feathers and all. And it's because when you are far away, it is easy to see who you are and what you are. Diba? So even kings, for example, they would wear gold I'm wearing gold today. If I lived during that time, I wouldn't be allowed to wear this. I probably would be arrested and I probably would be executed because gold was only reserved for the royalty. But today, we're a lot more flexible, diba? So we are now allowed to wear golden clothes. So it is because the hair is one of the things that we can see, and they need to find ways to also organize, to do something about their hair, because they need to keep it long. So might as well keep it neat and use the hat as one of the many different indicators of your status, of your religious affiliation, and whatever.
All right, thank you so much for that
Thank you.
very detailed answer. It was actually quite impressive. The next question that we have here is about the hats, naman. Can you tell
Okay.
us where they got the hats? Like the hat industry, do you know anything about it?
Um, well, they would make the hats by hand because they didn't really have like sophisticated machines like today. Actually, even the hats that I have here, a lot of them are also made by hand. So, like the souvenir industry would make this by hand. But in the ancient days, they would, of course, make the hats with various materials. Some of them would be made of plants, like rattan. Diba? They would weave them together and so on. And then they would place maybe silk or cotton, depending on your rank. And maybe if you are again royalty, maybe more embroidery, more precious stones. Sometimes the bigger the better, because the Chinese people are one of the very expressive civilizations of the world. Not to say that other civilizations are not, but Chinese civilization has always been associated with luxury and grandeur, diba? So especially if you're royalty, so they would always put all these heavy stones on them, which is why if you go to like museums, and you look at Chinese ornaments, sometimes you wonder how they were able to keep their head straight with all those things on their head, especially if you're a lady, diba? And you normally the women's hairstyles and headdresses are a lot more ornate, a lot more detailed. So I mean, I could just imagine how they could spend the day with that big crown or that big hat while still being very sophisticated and poised, diba? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for enlightening us on that. The next question, no. Do men from the Qing dynasty, did they experience a painful process in shaving their hair? Or was it more of a pain-free process?
Like the process of shaving of the head.
Yes, that's one
Is
of the
is
questions.
that the Okay, I see. I actually did not read anything about it, so it is but since it's not as highlighted, I would assume that they had ways to not make it painful, diba? Even today, I guess, with a careful, like if you're someone who shaves, diba, regardless of gender, if you know how to handle a razor, I don't think shaving is painful, although it might cause blisters if you don't know how to shave properly. But at that time, I would assume that they would have oils and creams to not make shaving the head painful. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Audience, once again, a reminder to please send in your questions. We'd love to hear any sort of comments that you might have, any ideas that you have going on. And also, once again, update. Hello, I am fine again.
Yay.
Thankfully, nose bleeding has stopped. But another question from me while we wait for more questions to come in from the audience. Uh, can you walk me through what it might have cost some people? Were the haircuts free, or was it very expensive to get some types of haircuts back then? Just walk me through what that might have looked like.
Well, in early history, as I mentioned, they didn't really cut their hair that much. So it wasn't like, well, yeah, there were some hairdressers back in the day, They did help probably in the styling of the hair, but cutting hair wasn't really done throughout most of China, at least for the men. But in the Qing dynasty, I think it would be interesting to see, like, barbershop records, which I wasn't really able to find. But for some people, it did cost their lives because there were people who refused to have the Q hairstyle in the Qing dynasty. And there was a saying before that it's either you keep your hair but you don't keep your head, or vice versa. Diba? So it's either you follow what the Manchurian people want, or okay, you can keep your hair whatever style you want, except again if you are Buddhist, like a Buddhist monk. But if you do not follow, there was a rule before that all men should be in the Q hairstyle. So if you did not follow that rule, then you would be executed, diba? So for some people, it might have cost a few coins. For some people who refuse, cost their lives.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Wow. How times have changed, no?
Yes.
But,
How times have changed, really.
yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think the Chinese would be very shocked to see people walking around with mohawks and undercuts right about now.
Yes, very much so. Which is why the title of the presentation was Hair and Order, because really there were times in history when, well, a lot of times in history when hair was a big deal to them, because hair actually is not, again, in relation to the earlier question, diba, why hair, diba? Hair is not just the way you tie your hair, but it is how you align yourself in society. For example, how you align yourself depending on your religion, or how you align yourself politically. So for example, in the Qing dynasty, if you did not want to keep your hair in a Q hairstyle, then it means that you did not align yourself with who was ruling back then. Or in the earlier dynasties, if you did not keep your hair in a top bun, it was an obvious indicator that okay, we don't really care too much about what hair you want to have, a hairstyle that you want to have, but it's obvious to us that you are not one of us. You are someone else from another culture. You're not Han Chinese. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Incredible how it was used to divide like that.
Yeah.
Last question we have for you, Mr. Gilbert. People notice some similarities between the hats that you've shown and the ones seen in Korea. So would you
Yes.
say, what do you call it? They're the exact same design, or are there subtle differences?
I have a confession. This black hat, I got it from Korea. So it's nice that you have this question. But the reason why I still use it in this talk was because, as I mentioned a while ago, the hats that were used in Korea and in China were identical, because medieval Korea, Joseon Korea, was a tributary state of China, meaning to say they had closer ties with China, economically, culturally, politically. So even the way that they would dress, for example, if you look at the way their kings would dress, diba? If you look at your Korean novellas, they would resemble in some ways to what the Ming Dynasty emperors would wear. And this hat, for example, was worn by officials in the Ming Dynasty court, as well as the Joseon Dynasty court in Korea. The emperors, by the way, the panels at the back are detachable. So let me detach it for you for a while. Yeah, so here they're detachable. Now, the kings, for example, would have the two panels in this way, diba? In this way. So this is the crown. I don't know if you can see clearly. This is the crown, appearance of the crown of the king. But you will see that both in Korea and what do you call this? You would see that in Korea and China as well. So they're very alike because, again, they had very strong political and cultural linkages during that time. However, if you go to, for example, earlier dynasties of China and earlier eras of Korean history, then there are big, noticeable differences between the way that men and women would dress. However, in relation with the question of Korea and China, I noticed that it is only the men who would have more like similarities, but for women around the Ming Dynasty, the hanbok that the Joseon women would wear in Korea would look very much different already from the hanfu that the Chinese, like Ming Dynasty Chinese ladies would wear. But for the men, it's like they have more similarities. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That was our last question for the afternoon. So, Sir Ke, any final words you'd like to tell us before we end?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Sheshe Tatya. Thank you for coming, and I hope that you will still have time in the coming days to attend the other lectures about foot binding and Chinese landscape painting. And before I sign off, I would just wish everyone a very happy and prosperous year of the Metal Ox. 新年快乐，恭喜发财。
And we love to hear that. I hope a great and what do you call it? A great and lucky year ahead for all of us as well. And what a wonderful way to end part 1 of our 3-part webinar series. Thank you again, Mr. Ke, and all those who are watching. And we hope to see you in our future webinars in the next few days as well. Once again, before I forget, we'll be having a foot binding talk tomorrow at 2 p.m. So feel free to attend if you're interested. Once again, this has been Kyle and Daya, your sophomore host from BS Management Honors, and our culture, our story, our Spring Festival. Thank you and have a wonderful afternoon ahead of you. Sheshe. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming.